I bet you've already done it today, maybe even a few times. But have you ever really stopped to think about why? We're about to get into the surprisingly deep science behind one of our most common and most misunderstood reflexes, the yawn.
Right? It's a question literally all of us have asked at some point. What is going on when we yawn? For ages, the answer seemed pretty straightforward. Turns out, the real science is way more fascinating. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with just how universal yawning is. Then we're going to bust the biggest myth about it. After that, we'll get into the leading theory for why it really happens, figure out why it's so contagious, and finally, wrap up with why this simple little reflex is a bigger deal than you think. Okay, first up, the universal yawn. And I mean, this isn't just a quirky human thing. It's this deep, involuntary reflex that you see all across the animal kingdom. It's a fundamental piece of our shared biology. You know the feeling. You can try to hide it, maybe close your mouth, but you can't actually stop a yawn once it's started. And for centuries, this simple, unstoppable act has been a real scientific puzzle, leading to some really common and really wrong ideas. Which brings us to the biggest misconception of them all. It's time to finally put to rest the myth that yawning has anything to do with a lack of oxygen. Okay, so the story we've all heard is that we yawn because our brain needs more oxygen, right? It just kind of makes sense. But here's the thing. Scientific studies have looked for that link again and again, and they just can't find it. Yawning has pretty much nothing to do with low oxygen levels in your blood. And the proof against the oxygen idea is really, really strong. For one, researchers put people in low oxygen rooms, and they didn't yawn any more than usual. And get this, fetuses yawn all the time in the womb, where they get all their oxygen through the umbilical cord, not from breathing. Plus, just think about it. When are you breathing the heaviest? When you're exercising hard, but nobody's in the middle of a sprint and suddenly starts yawning. It just doesn't happen.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If the oldest, most popular idea is just flat out wrong, then what is actually going on when we have that big, deep, satisfying yawn? Well, this brings us to the leading scientific theory today. Your brain is basically using a yawn as a built-in radiator. The fancy term for it is thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is just your body's way of keeping its temperature nice and stable. You can think of your brain like a super high-performance computer. It runs best when it stays cool. And according to this theory, a yawn is basically its own little air conditioning system kicking on. So how exactly does that work? It's a pretty neat four-step process. First, your brain starts to heat up a little, usually because you're tired or bored. That triggers the yawn, so you take a deep breath of cooler outside air. At the same time, that massive stretch of your jaw muscles ramps up blood flow to your head. And voila! That cooler blood circulates through the brain, bringing its temperature back down and making you feel a bit more alert. Okay, but that only explains why you yawn. It doesn't explain the really weird part. Why is it so contagious? Why does just seeing someone else yawn, or even hearing them, or heck, even thinking about it, make you want to yawn too? Well, the leading idea here is empathy. Catching a yawn isn't really a sign that you're bored or tired, it's a sign that you're connected. It seems to be this very primitive, totally unconscious way our brains sync up with the people we're with. And this idea is actually backed up by research. Studies show that you are way, way more likely to catch a yawn from a close family member than from a friend. And you're much, much less likely to catch one from a total stranger. It's like the stronger your social bond with someone, the more contagious their yawn is to you. So this whole reflex probably evolved as a social tool. It's this ancient, unconscious signal to the rest of our tribe that, hey, we're on the same page. We're feeling a similar way, whether that's tired or our alertness is changing, or we just need to cool down our brains. So what's the big takeaway here? Why should we even care about why we yawn? What does it all mean? It really boils down to these two powerful ideas that work together perfectly. Thermoregulation explains the physical reason for a yawn. Our brain is getting a little warm, which happens a lot when we're tired. And social bonding explains the contagious part, that empathetic response that actually strengthens our connection to other people. So, the next time you yawn, just remember, it's so much more than a simple sign that you need some coffee or a nap. It's this incredibly complex, multi-purpose tool that's cooling down your brain's hardware and connecting you to the people around you. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a simple yawn has all this going on under the hood, what other everyday things, like a sneeze or a shiver or even a laugh, are connecting us in these deep, profound ways that we haven't even begun to figure out yet?